I got the TV mounted, perfectly centered, framed into the wall. And then I'm going to build the mantle out of solid oak. And it just made sense for me to do the tiling and grouting first. And then I'm going to maintain that mantle that's currently there, or whatever. It's not really a mantle, that trim piece that goes around. That's going to be my attachment point for this. I'm going to custom build this to fit right over that, because that thing's firmly mounted to the wall, and I can pin this to the wall and maybe even make it removable. So if you ever wanted to stain this in the future, you can pull it. That's the way I built mine at home. Although it's been like 15 years since I built the mantle at my house, and I've never taken it off. I've just painted around it carefully. But this was the homeowner's idea for tile. You might recognize the hearth is the same tile we used in the bathroom. The wall tile is some tile that a friend of his had, and he liked the colors. He's going with a carpet that's probably, not quite that dark, but it's going to be kind of in between these two colors, in that brown, a low pile Berber type carpet throughout the house. So I believe it'll complement the tile work quite nicely. The oak is going to go some sort of medium color. We haven't decided on that yet. We'll see. And then there'll be the gas fireplace. That'll be black. And the black will match the black TV. I think it's going to look delightful. And then I'm going to build the whole thing out of true sawn oak. This is about $260 worth of materials. There's the red oak boards. I've got some red oak crown. Got some oak crown. Got some trim. We got an astragal, which I like using. Astragal trim, which is a nice profile. I'll show you how that all goes together. And yeah, all this stuff fits in the Suburban. I can fit 12-foot, 4x8 sheets will lay right in between the back of that truck. If I fold down the middle seat, and the back seats out, I can lay 4x8 sheets in there, easy peasy. I can fit a 12-footer from the cargo doors to the dashboard. I have to lay them on top of the front seat, but 12 footers, and this little trim here is 14 foot, but I just put a little J-bend in it, and it transported here just fine. Nothing got wet, and I had a few other things I had to bring over here in the Suburban, but I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again, and if I haven't mentioned it before, then I won't edit this out. But a lot of people will save money by using plywood, like an oak veneer plywood, to build the boxes, to build the legs, to build the ledger, the top ledger. And then they'll trim it out in dimensional lumber, stuff like this, the 1x3 red oaks. And while it kind of looks, before you stain it, it all looks good. When you finally get a chance to stain it, it doesn't stain consistently. And I'll admit, when I first started building mantles and building cases and trim work and stuff, I'd use plywood. And then the plywood, you figure they're shaving a real thin layer of oak, and then they press it flat and they glue it to a bunch of other cheaper wood to make plywood. It's compressed, it's heated, it's glued, and it crushes the grain, and it just doesn't accept stain the same way dimensional lumber does, street cleaner. And it's inconsistent. The staining is inconsistent, and the darker you stain something, the more obvious it becomes that the staining is not consistent. If you build the whole thing, keep it natural oak, you just do maybe like a natural oil on it, and then use a water-based varnish, basically keeping it the same color, it's not that noticeable. And yeah, if you want to save $60 on materials, then buy a sheet of plywood instead of the dimensional lumber, $60-$80. But if we're going with some kind of medium stain, so if you're going to go with a darker stain, in my opinion, you stick with the dimensional lumber. You pay a few extra bucks, but it all just stains out nicer. And if you're worried about a few bucks, then spend $400 at Home Depot and get a pre-manufactured one and just stick it to your wall. I mean, really, I'm going to have less than $300. By the time I get stained and varnished, I'll be under $300 in materials, and I'll have this knocked out in like 2 hours. So he's getting a good deal on this, because this is kind of my, my thank you gift, I guess. But we'll see how all this comes out. Anyhow, I'm going to sit you guys down because I've been talking too much, and time's a tick, and I got stuff to do. I'll be right back. So that's my scrap pile. I like bidding my stuff close. I had 13 inches of this left over. This trim, I had 11 inches of this. And some various blocking, which I'm still going to use. I still need to make the ledger that sets on top of this. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that came out. It's scaled quite nicely to the room. It's not bad for a bunch of flat stock. Yeah, that's not bad. I'm calling it a day because I actually ran out of the wood. I would do the top ledger, but the piece of wood I was going to use here, I ended up using here as this backer. That's the beauty of only working with kind of a crude drawing and going off the flying by the seat of your pants. So I'll pick that up tomorrow and then I can do the top ledger. The contrast of the grain. Painter's gonna touch that up. Yeah.